Shabbat shalom, Shabbat shalom, Shabbat shalom. This is your Akazaki Yahoo, and I start this broadcast as I will start any broadcast by first of all giving all praises, honor, and great esteem unto the Most High Power, Yahuwah Bahashem, Yahushua Hamashiach, and to the 12 tribes who are scattered to the four corners of the earth. I say, Shalom Wabaruki. That's the 12 tribes of Israel, by the way, who are scattered to the four corners of the earth. I say Shalom Wabaruki, that is peace and blessings. And I cannot wait to the day that the Most High brings us back together and we are once again 12 tribes, one family, one nation, under the Most High power, under one covenant, and back in our own land. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
Yes, indeed. I am joined this afternoon by my most esteemed Kenaniah. Shabbat Shalom, my king.
Hey, Shabbat Shalom, Aki. Shabbaton Yasharal. Call Halal Yahweh. Bahashem Yahweh Shahamashiach. Wahawa Kakwadash.
Yes, indeed. All praises to the Father, to the Most High Power, Yahweh, in the name of his beloved Son, Yahweh Shai, the Messiah, and the set-apart spirit of the Most High, the Ruach, the set-apart Ruach. And, man, it is another Sabbath Yom, and it's a beautiful day outside. All praises to the Father. It is wonderful, wonderful to be here yet again for another Sabbath Yom. We are back, Yah King, Army of Yah, and we are here again to bring you another video review. And this particular review video, I should say, comes from our brothers over at Black Journals. Shout out to those brothers for the amazing work that they are doing in the video area, in the video realm. And they put together good stuff for us to review and keep our minds focused on what the things that we need to be focused on as it pertains to what's going on in the earth. This particular review is the what Putin had to say when it concerns the Black Messiah. So I've not had an opportunity to watch this video. This is going to be an organic reaction. So let's get to it.
As I speak, I'm going to ask the white Americans in the room to please repeat after me. On behalf of myself and on behalf of my country, to you and all African Americans, from the beginning of our nation's history, in honor of your ancestors and on behalf of your children, please hear this from my heart. I apologize. Please forgive us. With this prayer, I acknowledge the depth of the evils that have been perpetrated against Black people. From slavery to lynchings to white supremacist laws.
I did not expect that. I did not see that coming. But let's continue here. Wow.
God.
All right.
Ever since the opening of one of the oldest vaults in history, the world has since then spiraled into a buzzing sphere of resounding shock. The old blinkers on the eyes of plenty of people around the globe have fallen off their eyes in a flash, and they can now see the structure of lies which they have been made to hold on to with their lives and their belief system for so long, without any doubts or consternation whatsoever. But the news is not yet over. There is yet more shocker in the way. You're advised to brace yourself for what you're about to hear.
Stop what you're doing, download this video, and share it on every social media site you can find, because this shit just got crazy. Vladimir Putin just told his entire nation that they now serve Black Jesus.
Ladies and gentlemen, people of Russia, today we stand on the precipice of a monumental revelation. A moment that redefines not only our understanding of history, but also the path forward for our great nation. In an extraordinary discovery hidden beneath centuries of lore and legend, we have opened what can only be described as the oldest vault known to mankind. What we found within its ancient confines challenges the very fabric of our beliefs and heralds a new dawn for our country. These figures, preserved against the sands of time, reveal a truth that is as profound as it is transformative. As your president, I see this moment not as a challenge to our beliefs, but as an opportunity to embrace a wider, more inclusive understanding of our history and spirituality. From this day forward, let us proclaim our nation under the guidance of Black Jesus.
So, here's the thing. Where to begin? So, okay, I get it. I get the understanding that it has been, you know, that white man JC has consumed the minds of people for, you know, centuries, millenniums, for the past couple thousand years. So I get it now that they understand that that was a lie, and that the true Messiah is a so-called black man. However, I would implore Vladimir Putin and anybody who was sincere in their desire to serve the power of Israel through the Messiah, or dealing with the Messiah, is to get on board with the people of Israel. And I'm talking about the Jews. I'm talking about the Yahudim, who are scattered and teaching the truth of the scriptures and building up our people. If you're serious, if you're truly serious, you need to be making contact with brothers who are about this life, because you shouldn't be trying to serve Black JC. You need to be serving the Most High in the name of Yehoshua or Yahawashai HaMashiach. If you're serious, it's just trying to change the JC character to a black dude is not resolving the matter. The idol is still. So go ahead.
You know, like you just said, I wasn't expecting this either from this video. So, but when I've heard all of this, you know, they're saying that this is a hoax now.
Oh, really?
Yeah. There's a video, and I saw Pastor Kelly. Pastor Kelly is the elder with that church in Savannah that's got the Hebrew writing. Okay, so he said that he put out a video 2 days ago stating Putin Russian's icon speech is a hoax. So it did seem strange. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah, because my initial first thought, well, I didn't say, but my initial first thought was maybe we need to be in Russia.
God.
But nah, I think that's the case. I didn't think that was the answer, but at the same time, I was wondering about that. But he said, so that's a hope. So,
Yeah.
Huh. Okay. Well, let's continue here. Let's see what else he says. That's interesting. How would he know it was a hoax? How would he come to that conclusion? Maybe we can come to a similar conclusion through this video. So, but let's continue. And yeah, interesting to say the least. But let's continue.
So many talks, turbulent reactions, outragings, and all kinds of activities in relation to the recent unveiling of black biblical icons to the world by the president of the Russian Federation, Vladimir Putin, hasn't died down just yet. As a matter of fact, the commotion continues steadily on the rise.
You remember that yesterday I gave you a video about one Dr. Kihuran Kuba, who is a Ugandan scholar specializing in classical African history. He spoke and said that one thing that the white person did when they colonized Africa is that they also colonized information. And that really shows that much of the information that we were fed was whitewashed and made to align with the desires that the white person had at that time.
Including Jesus. So a lot of these biblical paintings and images were destroyed during the Renaissance time. There were museums that were able to preserve these images. One of them was in Russia. So Putin recently decided that he was going to open the vault and expose all of the images. A lot of people are surprised that the images are of darker complexion people. Well, archaeologists and painters from all around the world have come together to confirm that the paint on these biblical images or paintings is the original paint, and it is not lighter paint that has oxidized over time. And a lot of people are in question of this because of the images that have been and are currently being depicted of biblical figures, which does not align with the ancient images.
Just the thought alone that a white man opened up the vault and let everyone see this, but people are still mad. Why would you be mad? You should be happy. Remember, this is chess, not checkers. Putin did this because 2024, the black Anunnaki is about to return and their time is up. So they was thinking, hey, if we could get some black people on our side, maybe the Anunnaki.
You can really see that Russia has been holding a lot of important information for the world. And I guess this is why some of the Western nations do not find any common ground that they can share with Russia. Because Russia is out to liberate the world. It is out there to share true information, because true liberation can only come when we have true and factual information.
News of the unveiling has been a great shocker to the entire globe, as the display of these black biblical icons in their unrivaled authenticity did not only challenge long-held mistruths and wrong beliefs which has been adopted for centuries now, but it did shake down the very firmly forged roots of religious falsehoods, which obviously has been conspiratorially championed for as long as any one of us can remember today. It's only been days now, the 23rd of this month of March, 2024, since the Russian President Vladimir Putin addressed the nation in Moscow. In a resounding video, the passionate president has been shown sitting at a table and opening a triptych. Here, a narrator had said,
"Today, Vladimir Putin reveals to the world a secret that Europeans have been hiding from Africans for more than a millennium. That the person of the name, Jesus, was black."
As some of us should already have known, when the European Renaissance happened, all the global images were seized and whitewashed by Michelangelo and Leonardo da Vinci.
It's always about the highest order of heroism, the highest order of sacrifice, the highest order of saintliness.
These are the pieces that for centuries were anchors for spirituality in Russia. Icons installed magnificently in churches, privately in homes, and even quietly on soldiers' lapels. They are considered a pathway to prayer.
You'd approach the icon and you would see something that is expected to be seen. You don't want to be surprised. And that familiarity leads you to a contemplative prayer state that is very spiritual to the believer.
Icons dating back to the 14th century brought together from private collections across Russia.
It's very beautiful. It gives you goose pimples. It's a remarkable exhibition.
It's an exhibition which feeds the senses. Everything is so gray outside at the moment, and here suddenly it's a feast for the eyes.
And it's a feast that marks 100 years since religious icons started to be recognized as works of art. Before then, they were mainly viewed as religious objects, often left blackened over the centuries by the passage of time and added layers of paint.
When
we learned how to remove the dark layers, we discovered underneath an overwhelming...
And just hold on a second, did you hear that? Let us hear that part again.
When we learned how to remove the dark layers, we discovered underneath an overwhelming...
Did you hear that? Now let us take it a little slower this time to be sure.
When we learned how to remove the dark layers, we discovered underneath an overwhelming...
That's the part. The images were whitewashed. And then the other old images were hidden in vaults all over Europe and Russia, and they all agreed to keep the old images a secret amongst them. But that secret is what is being gradually exposed this day by Putin, of which there are those who thinks of the act as a form of warfare, seeing as the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, NATO, is on the verge of nuking his country, and so he's had to reveal that the Christ and Mary were black people, and he has all the images, about 1,700 pictures to prove. There's been all kinds of speculation which continues to mount since the offshoot of this incident. But the basis of what stands now for Vladimir Putin and the Russian Federation is this. From now on, like he has announced a few days ago, Russia only worships Black Jesus. Let's listen attentively to the speech.
Ladies and gentlemen, people of Russia, today, we stand on the precipice of a monumental revelation, a moment that redefines not only our understanding of history, but also the path forward for our great nation. In an extraordinary discovery.
All right, pause right quick. I'm gonna research this right quick. Let me see.
So evidently what has been released is what was actually they're saying that he never did release a vault. Now, here's the thing, these pictures that are being revealed are truthful. You know, these are definitely I won't just say people of color. I will go as far as to say these are melanated people. You know what I mean? But they're saying that his speech, when it's translated, it's not his actual words. It's not what he said.
Okay, kind of.
That's the fraud that I was speaking about.
Okay, kind of. Yeah, looking at that, I just searched it. It shows me from the 28th. Video does not show Putin saying JC was black. University of Buffalo. Putin did not discuss Black JC in major speech. So, okay. That's cool. Yeah, that's cool. So that wasn't the real deal thing. Okay. All right. Well, we'll do something I don't normally do. And I'm gonna forego this video here. And if this is not authentic, then there's really no sense in us covering it. Because it's not, it doesn't make sense if it's not the real deal. And I'm sure Black journalists was just following what they had understanding of. So what we'll do instead, we're going to switch this whole video out, and we'll get to another video. There's no sense in following the video, reviewing a video that does not depict the information that is shared. So So it was that Ukraine video you were telling me about, or you don't want to be black in Ukraine?
Oh, yeah, and it's with black journals as well.
Yeah,
from like maybe you said you see it?
Yeah, I got it right here. Put it
Okay,
up.
Con.
Let me switch this title, and we'll get to that right now. Never in a live video shoot have we done switch the video from one video to another. But yeah, you got to do what you got to do.
Yeah, indeed. I think our approach has always been one of truth.
Yeah.
And not only that, you or I don't boast ourselves as teachers per se. Now, do we edify? Do we seek to edify listeners and our people? Yeah, but we're not here saying that we're experts on anything really. Our thing is we're students.
Right. Exactly. 1,000%. 1,000%. And if that's what Putin was saying that, and like I said, I hadn't even watched that video, and that's one thing I normally do, is I watch it before we get into it, and that way I'm not caught completely off guard. But this case, I was caught pretty well off guard by the opening of the video, number one, and then number two, the content of the video. So, nevertheless, I am updating the name of it here, and we will continue with this new video with our enemies in Ukraine. And we learn from the history and the teaching of the brother from Truth Unedited that a lot of the Ashkenazis, a lot of the Khazars were from Ukraine or lived in Ukraine. I had moved to Ukraine. So I don't know. It may be something there that, we just still learning about between those Ashkenazis and, these Ukrainians. So
yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that, because I was gonna say the same thing. We just covered this Khazarian Empire is today parts of Ukraine, or the majority of Ukrainian nation was a part of the Khazarian Empire.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and like I said, we just did that last night.
Yeah,
yeah. So we just covered that literally just a few hours ago, and but we're gonna pick up with this this new video, and this is why you don't want to be black in the Ukraine. So we're gonna pick up with this one, and still shout out to the brothers over at Black Journals, still doing great work. That video wasn't happened to be a hoax, and they covered it. Well, those things unfortunately do happen, and who's to know? Who's to say that something that we covered wasn't a hoax as well? But now that we know that it was a hoax, we're gonna move on. And this is the video we got going for you.
For Grace Cass, Ukraine was home. Sure, it could be unwelcoming for a black woman, and she would never get used to its bitterly cold winters, but it's where she had lived for the past 7 years. The 24-year-old, from the Democratic Republic of Congo, had come to Ukraine's second-largest city of Kharkiv as an engineering student and stayed on, forging a successful career as a makeup artist. She knew its parks and fountains. She learned Russian and some Ukrainian. She made close friends. In a word, she belonged.
This was not just a place where I lived. I was making something of my life.
Cass says, finding it hard to hold back tears in the train station of the Polish city of Przemysl, on the border with Ukraine.
So now they say we have to walk all the way to Romania. Can you imagine? So that's what we are doing.
It was Monday evening and she had fled Ukraine overnight on February the 27th, the fourth day of a full-scale Russian invasion of Ukraine. She made it out just in time. A day after leaving Kharkiv in northeastern Ukraine, the city was bombarded with Russian rockets that killed dozens of civilians. But when Cass reached Lviv in Ukraine's west near Poland, joining the heaving crowds desperately trying to board trains for safety, she says she encountered hostility from the Ukrainian military, who were dividing people into two groups, those who were white and those who were not.
They said they had a protocol for the entry to the border, and the protocol was 10 number of the Ukrainian locals to one number of foreigners to gain entrance to the Polish border.
Did a border guard say that to you?
Yes, a few of them. The lady who works with the border guard said that.
We are not allowing any black people to enter inside the gates.
At first, blacks it wasn't like that. We were all moving together. That it got to a time, blacks were somewhere else, and other white color skin were also somewhere else, and they were actually moving a little bit faster. The blacks weren't going at all.
Did they separate the queues?
Yes.
So black people were in one queue and white people were in another queue.
Mm-hmm.
And when it was time to get on this bus, the Ukrainians said, just Ukrainians, literally as a black person. I even lied that I was pregnant. They didn't care. I was begging. The official literally looked me in my eye and said in his language, only Ukrainians, that's all. That if you are black, you should walk. And that was an additional 8 hours from where we were. By car, it was like 30 minutes. So we had to walk additional 8 hours. The problem isn't at the Polish border. It is at the Ukrainian border. And the Ukrainians are only prioritizing their citizens. They don't care. They will push you. They will beat you. If you can make it, you make it. If you don't, you don't.
We entered the train last, Cass says, describing how she and other African women were forced to wait outside as snow was falling, while white women and children were allowed to board before them. She believes her gender is the only reason she was spared being beaten. Groups of Nepalese, Indian and Somalian men described to Time, a major media outlet, how they were kicked and beaten with batons by Ukrainian guards who later begrudgingly allowed them to cross over on foot. Later, when Cass's train stopped for 17 hours at the Polish border, this is what she says happened.
At the Polish border, Ukrainian train guards gave out bread and sausages to passengers. But they passed us, myself, and all the fellow Africans there. And by the time it was our turn, they just threw us the ends of stale bread.
After spending more than a third of her life in Ukraine, Cass felt let down. It was a traumatic experience. This is merely a spill of what it feels like to be black in Ukraine. Kindly sit back and review with us in this journey where we unfold experiences relating to this sad reality. Support our efforts by staying with us as we grow together. Like and share video with friends and families to keep spreading our eye-opening black narrative. And subscribe to keep getting notified. We're glad to have you with us. Let us delve in further, shall we? Human Rights Watch, HRW, an international non-governmental organization headquartered in New York City that conducts research and advocacy on human rights, had some years ago reported that racism and xenophobia remains entrenched problems in Ukraine. When Ukraine gained its independence from the Soviet Union in 1991, scholarships to African students substantially decreased. However, African students still found schools in the area appealing, and today, over 16,000 African people are studying in Ukraine, accounting for more than 20% of Ukraine's international students. And although the pathway to a visa in Ukraine and less expensive education costs are appealing to African students, economic depressions in southeastern Europe had resulted in the rise of anti-immigrant prejudices and racial discrimination against Africans. Following a series of race-related murders of Africans in 2007, Ukraine had, if not hesitantly, passed anti-racism legislation. And although hate crimes tended to decrease then to a certain extent, that reasonless feeling of hate and racist behavior continued to persist against black people from Ukrainians. Still, Africans would always report regular occurrences of racial prejudice and name-calling like monkey. In 2012, the European Commission Against Racism and Intolerance, ECRI, reported that tolerance towards Jews, Russians, and Romani appears to have significantly declined in Ukraine since the year 2000, and prejudices are also reflected in daily life against the black.
Wow, they got a problem with Jews?
Yeah, Khan. So these were, at one point, these were part of the Nazi regime. Another interesting point, Hitler himself was had Ashkenazi blood.
Right. Yeah, I was aware of that. As a matter of fact, his real name was a Jewish name.
Yeah, Khan.
I can't remember what it was, but sure we can find that with a quick Google search. Let me see. Yeah, here it is. Adolf Schecklenberg.
Schecklengrubber.
Schecklenguber. I was way off. Changed his name to Adolf Hitler. Not an uncommon surname. So yeah, Schecklen. Yeah, so he was definitely had a name like that, like theirs. But interesting to say the least. So, all right, let's continue.
Black communities who experience problems in accessing goods and services. From the years 2006 to 2008, 184 attacks and 12 racially motivated murders had taken place. In 2009, no such murders were recorded, but 40 racial incidents of violence were reported. It is worth considering that, according to Alexander Feldman, president of the Association of National and Cultural Unions of Ukraine, people who are attacked on racial grounds do not report the incidents to the police, and police often fail to classify such attacks as racially motivated, and would often write them off as domestic offense or hooliganism. A 2010 poll conducted by the Kouros Institute of Political and Ethnic Studies, UK, showed that some 70% of Ukrainians estimated the nation's attitude towards other ethnic minorities as conflict and tense. The discrimination African refugees fleeing Ukraine faced is a recurring reminder for those who believe in a post-racial world that anti-black racism is alive. Humanitarian crises, whether man-made or caused by natural disasters, often create intense suffering and societal divisions, and therefore call for a show of extraordinary humanity and solidarity. When the war in Ukraine broke out, Africans and Afro-descendants were as outraged at Russia's act of aggression and stated as much from different policy, political, social, and economic vantage points. They expressed equal humanity through their solidarity. However, as many fled the advancing Russian troops to safety across the Polish border, something tragic began to unfold. A recurring reminder for those who believe in a post-racial world that anti-black racism is alive. Not only has the Russian invasion of Ukraine brought to light the awful tragedies that accompany armed conflict, but the subsequent refugee crisis has also uncovered deeply seated racism in the country. Reporters documented dehumanizing treatment against international students from Africa, South Asia, and the Middle East in Ukraine. This treatment also extended to racialized permanent residents of Ukraine, including a long-time practicing Nigerian doctor. Like déjà vu, the world watched as Ukrainian police denied black and brown people the automatic and unconditional entry into Poland, a right granted to everyone else who was fleeing from the war in Ukraine. Some African students reported being shoved off the trains leaving for Ukrainian borders to make way for supposedly more deserving white folks, while others were harassed, beaten with sticks and slapped, having their jackets torn, being forced to go to the back of long queues by armed security officials. The scenes captured on social media were both horrendous, heartbreaking, and infuriating. Olympic gold medalist serving as Ukraine's first black member of parliament, Jan Beleniuk did speak openly about the racism he has faced in Ukraine after bringing home the Greco-Roman middleweight gold a few years ago in the Tokyo Games. Ukrainian wrestler Jan Beleniuk was the sole recipient of a gold medal on his team during the Tokyo Summer Games in 2021. But his welcome back home was anything but warm. Beleniuk, who was born to a Rwandan father and Ukrainian mother, won the gold in the 87-kilogram Greco-Roman wrestling event. The achievement marked a personal milestone for Beleniuk, who had previously taken home silver during the Rio Games in 2016. But on August 13th, the year before the Ukraine-Russia crisis, 30-year-old Jan Beleniuk had shared on Facebook that even with his golden accolade, he was not exempt from racist attacks. Beleniuk had sadly stated the following.
A few minutes ago, young men unknown to me approached me in the center of Kiev, Pechursk, trying to provoke a conflict, shouting out abusive things like, "Black monkey knows something about patriotism," and "Go to Africa." Thank God it didn't come to the fight, so I'm okay, but 1. I wonder if I am Ukrainian for my state. What criteria of patriotism exist in it? 2. How safe can the Olympic champion feel in his homeland and in his hometown? 3. And is it normal in the European state to hear offensive things to people who put life on its glorification?
More than 60 years earlier, James Baldwin had argued that you cannot be a black person in America and not live in perpetual outrage. Even so, Ukraine was not the first time in a crisis that black people and other people of color have been treated differently. There were similar shocking incidents against Africans in China in the wake of the COVID-19 pandemic, when some Africans were forcefully screened for the virus and forced to self-isolate in hotels, while other Africans were evicted from houses that they were renting by their landlords and denied services and goods. In the antebellum South of the United States and within the apartheid and color bar systems in South Africa, Zimbabwe, Namibia, Angola and Mozambique, black people were referred to as the great unwashed, backward, uncivilized, impish, etc. This stigmatization and
Good grief. Man. Well, let me say this. Yeah, that's what they can think about our people. And I know some of this, they lump us all together, you know, whether you're Somali or whether you're a Hebrew, you know, they put us all together. Somalis are the children of Ham, the Hebrews were the children of Shem, and we're the children of Israel, whose name originally was Jacob or Yaakov, and the name was changed to Yisrael or Yasha'al. Anyhow, you know, we've been given favor through the Most High, and it reminded me of a video that I saw a while back of that happened in right when that conflict kicked off. There was a video that I'm gonna share right here, and there was an Ima and her son. She met her son at the airport. He was a professional basketball player that was playing over there, and praises to the Abba, you know, he was able to get out and met his mother here, and so they were bringing his mother to meet him in at the airport. Now I want you to notice something about this video. This woman is a believer. Now she got her fringes on and with the ribbon. So it's one thing to have on. Just that brother there had fringes on. You know, I don't know if you saw that. I don't know how to pause this video. Let me see. So we notice here, see hers with hers there. Maybe I can pause it here. And then as the angle switches, you notice this brother here got fringes and is ripping right there. So these are believers. I don't know about this brother here, but you know, the brother that was playing ball. But if this is his mother, and maybe this is her husband or his brother, but I would venture to say it's probably her husband. But yeah, these are believers. These are people who. And
this is in that video we was watching out.
No, this is a separate. I put this up separate.
Oh, okay, come.
Yeah, I put this up separate because this was a situation. If you see the caption here, pro basketball player Mo Creek reunites with his family after escaping Ukraine. So that was the situation that they were going through. They were doing the so-called black people bad, pushing them to the back of the line. Well, the Most High made it where these believers were able to be reunited with their son here. This was right at the beginning of this conflict. He was able to get up out of there. So, what happens? He comes and embraces his mother. So I'm guessing this is probably not his father or his brother. It's probably her husband or her somebody. I don't know. But you know, he's staying back, and she's hugging her son, happy to see her son. So you know, this has got to be a situation. Look, she's so happy to see him. Like, let me see your face. Take this off. Let me see your face. Like, look, he got a beard. So, I don't know, you know, it's not, you know, a lot of brothers wear beards, don't necessarily mean you're in the truth. But when you hugging your mama and she in the truth, and he probably in the truth too. I don't know. I can't say with certainty. I don't see any fringes, so it's hard to say, you know, one way or another. But it's interesting enough to point that out. So let's go back to the other video. But you know, and I'm highlighting that point because this is what they were doing in Ukraine. They were giving so-called black people a hard time, regardless of who you were and where you were from. If they see your skin is dark, they'll give you a hard time. Well, our people were able to find favor in the sight of a hard time, even though they were in the process of giving black people a hard time. You know what I'm saying? This brother was able to get up out of there and to meet his mother with a hug. So, you know, praises to the Father, you know, for grace and for favor. You know what I'm saying? So while everybody else was getting pushed back, this brother was able to get out of there. I don't know when this video was released, but I remember seeing it make rounds. And when I searched it, I searched escaping Ukraine. And this was like the second video that came up. So praises to the Father. Let's continue here.
Criminalization of blackness sadly remains a phenomenon in both the global north and south, such that the imposition of travel bans by the global north after the discovery of the Omicron variant by South African scientists was, and is, in fact, travel apartheid. Almost immediately after the announcement had been made that a new variant of COVID-19, Omicron, as it was later named by the World Health Organization, had been identified, wealthy northern nations had rushed to impose travel bans on a number of southern African countries and later on other African nations as well. In some very unpretentious language from African governments, the move was labeled racist, hypocritical, unsupported by science, travel apartheid, and even Swart Gavard, particularly because these same northern states did not impose similar bans on each other, despite their infection rates being hugely higher than the infection rate in southern Africa. Going forward, systemic racism has a critical ally in a complicit international media that either invisibilizes black suffering or suggests that the injustices consistently visited upon black bodies are secondary to defeating the Russian threat. Racism and white supremacy existed before and will most likely continue after the Ukrainian crisis. It will take much more than Twitter outrage and sanguine statements by the African Union and some African countries. The fact that Ukrainian refugees and other Europeans were being welcomed into Poland and migrant-hating Bulgaria without any conditions demonstrates the depth of the problem. It also shows the extent to which anti-blackness has been normalized globally, because even amid a humanitarian crisis, there was still the time and space for discrimination against Africans and other persons of color.
Still.
For instance, in Moldova, the private sector proactively sought to help Ukrainian refugees with the telecommunications company Moldcell, offering them free call, minutes, SMS, and free internet connectivity valid for 5 days. The Ukrainian crisis did bring back into public discourse global double standards in the racialized treatment of people fleeing the same war zone. It did confirm a long-standing public secret that the right to life, livelihood, security, and mobility of black bodies is always contested or negated. It is not a coincidence that black peoples, Afro-descendants, and people of color generally are often unwanted, unwelcome, and perceived as a threat by the West and the rest. The Ukrainian police and soldiers who were preventing Africans from boarding trains to escape the war zone until all Ukrainians had boarded showed the often unstated but believed hierarchy of unequal humanity. These soldiers and police officers acted as they did because they had been taught that Africans, or black people generally, who tried to flee tragedy were not worth saving. This is not only a gross human rights violation, but a slap in the face given the solidarity that African states did show toward Ukraine during the crisis. Starting with the viral speech by Kenya's permanent representative to the United Nations, Ambassador Martin Kimani, who passionately called out Russia's neo-colonial ambition to forcefully reintegrate people divided by past empires, and even Jan Beleniuk, who wouldn't allow his racial experiences from Ukrainians dissuade his loyalty to Ukraine, was seen on that eve of the invasion calling on Ukrainians to keep calm and not give in to panic. Later on, he posted images of himself on Facebook and Instagram cleaning a Soviet-era pistol, suggesting he was preparing to fight. Racially motivated attacks occur in Ukraine while police and courts do little to intervene, the Council of Europe said in a report made public February 2008 in Strasbourg. The report also expressed concern about attacks against rabbis and Jewish students, as well as the vandalism of synagogues, cemeteries, and cultural centers. However, criminal legislation against racially motivated crimes has not been strengthened, and the authorities have not yet adopted a comprehensive body of civil and administrative anti-discrimination laws, the body said. There have been very few prosecutions against people who make anti-Semitic statements or publish anti-Semitic literature. Discrimination against the Romani community, continuing anti-Semitism, violence in Crimea, and other acts of intolerance against various ethnic groups in Ukraine were singled out in the report by the Council of Europe's racism monitoring body, the European Commission Against Racism and Intolerance. For instance, in December 2006, racist attacks on foreign students were reported by the Council of Europe. The Council stated that students were reluctant to report attacks because police response to these attacks seemed to be inadequate. Many of these incidents are conducted by skinheads or neo-Nazis in Kyiv, but similar crimes have also been reported throughout the country. Skinheads, known as white power skinheads, are members of a neo-Nazi, white supremacist and anti-Semitic offshoot of the skinhead subculture. Many of them are affiliated with white nationalist organizations, and some of them are members of prison gangs. This movement emerged in the United Kingdom between the late 1960s and the late 1970s, before spreading across Eurasia and North America in the 1980s to 1990s. This movement has got to do with the mob section behind most racially motivated violent attacks and crises that you've heard of. In addition to incidents of assault, persons of African or Asian heritage may be subject to various types of harassment, such as being stopped on the street by both civilians and law enforcement officials.
What? What? You would dare think that you're going to stop me on the street? And do what? Do what? Like, what do you hope to accomplish there? Because that's crazy. You think I'm gonna be walking down the street and some civilian gonna say, hey, where you going? I'm gonna be like, oh, he ain't talking to me because I'm a grown adult. I know good and well this devil ain't asking me nothing. You talking to me? And now, as soon as they get a confirmation, we got a conflict. So maybe if I make an example of this heathen, the rest of these heathen, they get the picture. So that's Zakiyahu's take on this matter. Man, these people are outside of their mind. I'm gonna do another cutaway here. Hold on one second.
Where you? So fast, Kichi. You when I'm shit. Where you when I'm dream? So fast, Kichi. Hey boy. So fast, Kichi. Hey daddy. Kichi, Kichi, Kichima. Kichi, Kichima. Sibram Konto. Alliance. Sibram Konto. Alliance. Shoot to kill.
Shoot to kill.
Shoot to kill.
Shoot to kill.
Come on, sir.
Come on, sir.
Kiss the poor.
Kiss the boy.
The farmer.
The farmer.
Kiss the poor.
Kiss the boy.
The farmer.
The farmer.
Brr, pa. Pa. Brr, pa. Pa.
Attention. All praises to the Father.
Hallelujah.
Hallelujah. Let's get back to the video.
Individuals belonging to religious minorities have also been harassed and assaulted in Kyiv and throughout Ukraine. To say the least, being a black in Ukraine has been gravely wounding. And in all of this, the government's response to the recent surge in hate crimes has been insufficient and inconsistent. Ex-President Viktor Yushchenko and some other senior government officials have spoken out against racist and xenophobic violence. However, these statements have been undermined by other declarations by some key law enforcement officials whose remarks suggested a denial of the problem. Since 2005, non-governmental NGO monitors in Ukraine have documented a dramatic rise in violent crimes with a suspected bias motivation. While incidents occurring in Kyiv have been most accurately documented, there is evidence that incidents of violence are taking place throughout the country, including the cities of Cherkasy, Chernivtsi, Kharkiv, Luhansk, Vinnytsia, Zhytomyr, and several others against people of color. A report released by Amnesty International in July 2008 had warned of an alarming rise in racist attacks in Ukraine. According to the report, more than 60 people were targeted in racist violence in 2007, 6 of them killed. More than 30 people were victims of racist attacks since the beginning of 2008, and at least 4 had been killed at the time of the report. Rights advocates are puzzled by the rise in hate crimes, but they claim government inaction is partly to blame. They also claim the government aggravates the problem by denying that racism is growing and only acknowledging isolated incidents. Rights groups claim Ukrainian hate groups are inspired by their counterparts in Russia. Russian skinheads help the local groups, they say, sharing tips and video clips on how to attack and torture their victims and how to safely leave the crime scene. Representatives of the Ministry of Justice and members of Ukrainian Parliament stated that discrimination views and anti-social attitudes are practiced by a minority of the population, by fringe organizations, and by younger generations of Ukrainians. They say they are most alarmed by the younger Ukrainians' attitudes.
But wait a minute. Aren't certain attitudes of younger generations inherited from older generations? Aren't the racist attitudes of these younger Ukrainians picked up from their older generations over time? Or is there anywhere else aside from one's surroundings that younger ones pick up mentality from?
Nonetheless, the fact that during the 2007 parliamentary elections, the right-wing parties espousing xenophobic and racist ideology did receive very little support from the electorate also points to the unpopularity of such ideas among the general Ukrainian population.
All right, so apparently there's some problems with the government dealing with these matters. So when you go to the government and you can't get any kind of resolution, looks like we only have one option in that situation. And we're going to jump to the book of Isaiah, chapter number 9, verse number 6. It says, "For unto us a child is born, unto us a son is given, and the government shall be upon his shoulders. And his name shall be called Wonderful, Counselor, Mighty Power, an Everlasting Father, and the Prince of Peace. Of our increase is his government, and peace there shall be no end. And upon the throne of David, and upon his kingdom, to order it, and to establish it with judgment and with justice from henceforth, even forever. The zeal of Yahuwah Zavaot will perform this." Yahuwah sent the word unto Jacob, and it lightened unto Israel. So that's what we got to look forward to as the children of Jacob, or the children of Israel, the government of the world being on the shoulders of the leader of the new world, which will be Hamashiach, Yahushua, however you want to pronounce his name, however he tells us to pronounce his name, it'll be what it is. But the point of the matter is, yeah, the government in this country, in this world, will fail us, has failed and will fail us. But the government that Yahushua will establish will not fail us. And it'll be a magnificent government, and we'll be able to count on it diligently and completely. So, you got anything on that?
That's right. No, I really don't have anything. I mean, you're absolutely right, though. And you know, our hopes and our trust are not in. They're not of this world. You know, we depend upon the Most High. You know, and the world, the earth belongs to Him. You know,
exactly. It's His footstool. It's His footstool. Yes, indeed. Let's continue with this video.
According to a Western human rights organization, asylum seekers, refugees, students, and labor migrants are among the victims of bias-motivated violence, which have also included diplomats, expatriate employees of foreigner companies, members of visible minorities in Ukraine, and Ukrainians who have assisted hate crime victims. Foreign students, of which there are some 40,000, have been among the principal victims of hate crimes. Small populations of citizens and immigrants of African origin are highly visible and particularly vulnerable targets of racism and xenophobia. Although relatively few people of African origin reside in Ukraine, the rate of violence against this group has been extraordinary. African refugees, students, visitors, and the handful of citizens and permanent residents of African origin have lived under constant threat of harassment and violence. Terrell Starr, independent scholar and journalist from New York, carried out some kind of research several years ago on the experiences of the African Ukrainians and the Black community living in Ukraine. Eventually, the information Starr had gathered during this research culminated in a photo exhibition he produced, which consisted of his interview subjects' experiences. Major part of Starr's research included questions designed to allow interviewees to explore the issues of race and identity in their own context. Here they are asked about their experiences as African Ukrainians while attending Ukrainian schools. As Starr would further reveal, that was the first time anyone had asked them in depth about their experiences, so the result was enormous, which led Starr to this particular curious character he had interviewed in the process, Angelina Diash, a university student of Angolan and Ukrainian descent. Born and raised in Ukraine, although Diash viewed other Ukrainians as her fellow citizens, the feeling was not always reciprocated. At this point, Diash has said,
"For instance, although I have a passport that shows I'm Ukrainian, but I need a social visa."
Angelina Diash had developed a strong sense of self-identity because of her difference in appearance. She had also developed a sense of self-reliance at an early age to cope with being a minority in her own country. When a person is constantly singled out by race, you grow to know just who you are very quickly. This, the African-American journalist Terrell Starr had said while discussing his research as a Fulbright scholar in Ukraine at a May 2011 Kennan Institute event. Starr had hinted further that the research in itself was an eye-opener for him to literally experience firsthand that racism and xenophobia are very well active in Ukraine. The African-American speaker explained that he was stopped by Ukrainian police 29 times during his stay in Kyiv.
My gracious. Let me make this point here as well. I think here in America, we live in a very white part of America. I live in Clarksville, Indiana, and it's super white. I mean, super white. Everything is white. All the government officials, I think they got maybe one or two so-called black men, and they probably the worst on the police department. And they're probably the worst. I haven't had an experience with the police in Clarksville or in Jeffersonville. I was stopped one time by a county cop, and he was a jerk. But even that, well, I'll take that back. 2 times. I was stopped by a county cop, and I was stopped by a state cop in Indiana. Both of those guys were pretty unreasonable. Not unreasonable, but they wanted to be bad. They wanted to be jerks. But I believe the Most High put the spirit on them because it was dealing with one of his own that they didn't give me any problems. And it was extraordinary. It wasn't because they were nice guys. It's both of them had, like the one cop, the state cop, he asked me, where was I coming from? And I wasn't gonna answer the question. I was gonna leave it. And then he asked me again, like I was obligated to answer the question. So I just said, from my girl house, which was not the case, but nevertheless, it was something to say or whatever the case. But anyhow, what you worried about where I'm coming from? I'm coming from I'm coming from a drug deal. I just scored a kilo of heroin and it's in my trunk and I'm going to deliver it. No, I'm coming from work. That's where I was coming from. What are you worried about where I'm coming from? How is that going to help you through your day? Now you're going to be able to document. Detainee says he was coming from work because, what? Like I'm supposed to give up some extraordinary information. Where are you coming from? Like that's going to, solve the case. Yeah, I got him now. He said he told me where it's coming from. Like, heck out of here. But the point of the matter is, I think people in America, I think they're more afraid of what's going to happen. I think they really understand that they got it coming. They really got it coming, and I don't know if these other people feel like that, if they understand that. But in Ukraine, I think they're dealing with a lot of immigrants, a lot of immigration, and so on and so forth. So they don't have a people that's been there for centuries that they maybe enslaved, like because they know we're the children of the slaves of those people that were here. That's where we come from. So when you look at us, I think when they deal with us, and maybe give me your opinion on this, Ark, as well. When they deal with us, I think they know that this person probably wants me dead. You know what I'm saying? Like, they probably do some payback from something that my ancestors did to their ancestors. So I just imagine walking in a public place and somebody putting their hands on me. Like, are you crazy? Like, do you really think you're gonna walk out of here with that? I remember the Trump rally, and black people came to contest the rally, and this white dude, old bearded white man, punched one of them, punched a young black, and he didn't see who it was. Like, it was the whole thing was on camera, but he didn't see it. When he turned around, he saw nobody. He saw people sitting down, so he didn't know who did what. But we all saw it because it was on camera. I don't know if you remember that as well. But what's your opinion on that matter?
Well, I definitely think that they've had the chance to repent and make amends on the atrocities that have occurred. This video and other videos that we've covered is evidence that it's not just America. So a point I want to make, with this reparations for the transatlantic slave descendants of transatlantic slave trade, it wasn't just America that came up. You have what became I want to say it's the World Bank. Yeah, the World Bank ended up becoming it's funded by funds that were made from the transatlantic slave trade. So it's the world that has its coming, so yeah, like a lot of times, they see our skin tone or they see our appearance and they know pretty much what has happened. We kind of mentioned that last night, it's almost something that, or maybe I was talking to my father, and they don't want these subjects coming forth in our schools anymore. They want to cover up what has happened. But my father is one of the ones that believe reparations, he thinks it's gonna happen within my time span. But I keep telling him, man, I was like, you read the scripture, you see that Mashiach getting it back in blood, man.
Indeed, 1,000%, and that's what we got to look forward to. Here's the patience and the faith of the saints. He that leadeth into captivity shall go into captivity. He that killeth with the sword must be killed with the sword. And this is what we waiting on. That's scripture. That's not something that we came up with because it sounds catchy. That's scripture. That's what's written in the text. So you think that this wasn't the plan of the Most High from the beginning, to take his hand off his people and let us fall to victim to these heathen, and let these heathen do whatever it was that was in their heart to do. He knew what was in their heart. He knew what was going to happen. That's why he warned us. Devarim 28 and Leviticus 26. He warned us, if you don't follow me, this is what's going to happen. But the world definitely got it. But I think people in America, and the point I was making was, I think people in America, I think they have I think it's more in their face, because when they see us, I think all of them probably see us the same. So if they see me, Yahudim, possibly, maybe from, definitely Israelite, but maybe a Yahudim, but you see another cat who from Somalia, and you may be like, oh, two black guys. You know what I'm saying? So and I'm saying Somali because, we're distinctly different. You can look at me and look at them, and these are not the same people. But,
right. Well, some of them are actually Bantu, and you and I have talked about that before.
No, I mean like the authentic Somalis, the African Somalis. Yeah, some of the Bantus, we do look alike because we are the same people. But I'm talking about the Somalis, the African Somalis. You look at them and you look at us, and you're like, no, that's not the same people. I mean, you can tell there's a difference there. There's a difference in mannerisms and appearance. I mean, it's gross. It's a gross difference. So, but I think that they look at us and they see, two black people. But at the same time, here in America, I think they see a black person and they go, oh, this is probably somebody who my ancestors did wrong. You know what I'm saying? Like, this person probably hand should be around my throat, because of what my ancestors did to their ancestors. So, the idea that you would, try to put your hands on somebody, because of their existence when we were brought here in chains, and don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong. I'm not making an excuse for the people in Ukraine, but I think it's just a different mentality, because I think these people honestly fear that one day these people are going to kill us. Honestly, I think that they really believe that. I think they believe that in their hearts, that these people have every right to kill us. And, I'm going to tread lightly because I don't want to make it mad. And it'd be today. I think that's the mentality there. Now, don't get me wrong. We still deal with police brutality. I think those are very privileged people. You give them a uniform, a little bit of authority, and they go crazy. But I think that's real. And then you have, of course, those supremacist type people who, Caucasians, who go up and like the cat that went to the grocery store in Buffalo and killed. How many people did he kill? You remember?
I'm not sure. I know it was I forget, and that's sad because we shouldn't forget any of this.
I want to say it was like 10 or 12. I know it was in double digits. It was like 10 or so people. It might be 10 or 11. It's just like I would have remembered if it was 12. But I think it was like 10 or 11 people. And I remember him on that video, he turned his gun to some people and they were white. And he said, oh, sorry. I was like, this doggone devil. But yeah, so for those people, I think they like, yeah, we wanted to come because we're gonna get rid of them and get our country.
10, Salakia. He killed 10 and killed 10 and wounded 3 more.
Okay, Car. Okay, yeah. I forget sometimes we can just do a quick Google search and find out whatever we want to know. So but yeah. So So my point of that is I think that here it's different because don't get me wrong. I don't think these people are any better than those people over there. I think here they just have more of a, I think it's more in their face. You see black people and you know, these are not just black people. These are black people that your ancestors brought here to serve as slaves. These are their descendants. And so these people probably, based on what goes around comes around, restitution.
Restitution.
Yeah, based on restitution, you know, what goes around comes around. I think they know that it's just a matter of time before their time is up, and they get back what they gave. You know, even though they enjoy a privileged position, a position of privilege, I should say. You know, they know that it's coming. So anyway, let's finish this one on out. We almost to the end here.
Although the presence of racism and xenophobia has been on the rise in Ukrainian society, Starr had said, improvement is not unfathomable. However, he had noted that effective social change must come from above. What I found in Ukraine, Starr concluded, is that you have to find a combination of political leaders who actually try to deal with the problem. In closing, we have peeled back the gilded veneer of a crisis to expose the raw wound of racism that festers beneath. For too long, the narrative has been painted in shades of blonde and blue, erasing the vibrant tapestry of black experience in Ukraine. We were here before the bombs fell, not as refugees, but as students, professionals, building lives, weaving dreams into the very fabric of Ukraine as a nation. Yet the iron fist of war revealed a different truth. We were denied at the borders, deemed an afterthought in the desperate scramble for safety. But hear this, we are not phantoms fading into the background. We are doctors, scholars, artists, the beating heart of a diverse Ukraine. This is not a call for pity, but a roar for recognition. We will not be silenced by the deafening indifference, nor will we be fractured by the cracks of prejudice. Let this be a turning point. Let the world see the mosaic of Ukraine, where black excellence is celebrated, not ostracized. Hear our voices, for they are the clarion call of a new era. An era where equality is not a distant dream, but the cornerstone of this society. Let this be a watershed moment, a turning point where the color of our skin is no longer a barrier, but a badge of honor. We are black in Ukraine, and our story is only beginning. This brings us to the end of yet another interesting video segment here. Did you happen to learn a thing or two in the ride? Then reach out to us.
All right. So I would advise all Hebrews, Bantus, Igbos, anybody who is thought to be, that they could be a descendant of the 12 tribes of Israel, to leave Ukraine. Leave these places where you are treated unreasonably. Get out of there, because you staying there, it's just like staying in Jerusalem when the army surrounded the place. You're asking for trouble. Mashiach said, get up out of those, get out of here. Flee to the mountains. Get up out of there. And for those people who did not adhere to his warning, you know, they suffered horrible torture and death instead of fleeing. You know, our ancestors are the people who fled. And not only did they flee, but they got away. They got away and they got to safety. And as a result, you know, thousands of years later, we're here. Well, not thousands, but 1,000 years later, we're here. So be mindful of that. You know, get up out of these places that they treat you badly. You know, leave that for these other people. If these other people want to go there and do that, then let them have that. You know, if you think that Ukraine is a place to study and learn stuff, and that's cool, until they start treating you bad. When they start treating you bad, putting their hands on you, stopping you for every little thing. I don't know how people live in New York. You know, Chicago, some of these places where it's just, the treatment is just unreal. They treat you like you're the problem. And you're not a problem, you're the solution. You're the best, you're the only thing keeping this place afloat. Because if it wasn't for us, especially you commandment keepers, if it wasn't for us, this place would have been gone down. You know, the reason that the Most High haven't destroyed it is because he done found some righteousness in it. So, you know, that's what we learned from the Sodom and Gomorrah. It ain't the wicked people that's keeping the place floating. It's keeping the place up and keeping it from destruction. It's the righteous. It's the people who walk in the way of the Most High, who keep His way. So, on this video, man, being black in Ukraine, a lot of hard situations to deal with, you know. But we were able to skip to another video, and we saw the favor of the Most High on our people, and it's a very beautiful thing to see that favor. So, you know, we got to be mindful always to keep the way that the Most High have set forth for us, keep the Torah, to keep His laws, His statutes, and His commandments, and live for Him and not for ourselves. Because as much as we think we want to operate for us, here's the reality: there's no profit in it. There's no profit in me operating for myself. I don't have anything to gain there. You know what I'm saying? Because I don't have an Eretz. I don't have a Shamayim. I don't have a Sheol. I don't have any of these things that I can put anybody in. You understand? So how would I serve myself when I myself was made to be a servant? How am I serve myself when I'm made to be a servant? I gotta serve. That's what the Most High made me to do. He didn't make me to be equal with Him. He made me to be a servant of Him. And I'm thankful for that. I accept that. That's perfectly reasonable and acceptable. So, yeah, in Ukraine, get out of there. So-called, if you descend from one of the 12 tribes of Israel, get up out of there. You know, if they having war, they had conflict with Russia, get up out of there. You know, it's like the movie say, get out. Get out. That's all I got. I might have stepped away for just a moment.
Slock, yeah. I'm sitting here talking and not realizing I'm on mute.
Okay, no sweat. Go ahead.
Yeah. Khan, landbacking off of, your statements. There's a diaspora of so-called black people scattered four corners of the earth. Mm-hmm. We often mention, well, every time we link up, you make mention to patiently awaiting a time when we are gathered together in our own land, worshiping our power. This, we believe in the scriptures and we know that this is going to be so. Our people are coming from the richest continent on the planet.
Right.
You and I know, Hebrews that are leaving America and headed towards, West Africa or other parts of Kebulon, we don't have favor anywhere we go. You know what I mean? Like, except if it comes from the Most High.
Exactly.
I remember back when the pandemic was going on, there were some of our people being mistreated in Wuhan and other parts of China. Mm-hmm. We were watching a video a couple of weeks ago of a brother over in India being beat upon. You remember that?
Yeah, kind, indeed.
It behooves us to want to, and the Messiah, he says in prophecy, I want to say it's in Amos, don't wish for the return or the Most High's day don't be eager too much for the Most High's day, because what does that mean for you? And that's absolutely right. So we patiently await it, you know, because this draws back our captivity. This recompenses our enemies, which is a righteous thing. We read that in Thessalonians. It's a righteous thing. So we're going to continue to be patient, man, and also have the understanding that we don't have any love out here. So we should be loving on one another, man. Like, we've been through the same struggle. Some of the issues that we have amongst ourselves, we shouldn't be having,
No, absolutely not. That's a beautiful point as well. I wonder if it would even be beneficial for people here if we were in some of those situations. Consider that if we talking so-called black people in America, I think they said 16,000 or 16,000 in Ukraine. Black people in America are like 20 million, 20 or so million, 20 or 30 million, somewhere in that area. If it were a situation where, they were attacking us, it would only be a matter of time before we say, you know what, forget this. You know what I'm saying? So I think in that situation, they're vastly outnumbered. We're vastly outnumbered. I mean, we're talking 370 million to 330 million to about 30 million. So they got 300. That's just that alone. But I think that they realize that the reality is that these men in America, so-called black men in America, would take 3 or 4 of them at a time. You know what I'm saying? Like, they would literally take 3 or 4 of them, and pretty easy. I think that in Ukraine, I think they think that it could be, 1 for 1. I think that's their belief system. So, and I don't know what the weapon system is in Ukraine. If they got free to bear arms, here you can bear arms free. You can go in the store, you go to Walmart and pick up a shotgun, a pistol, whatever. No big deal. It's easy to get as long as you're not a criminal. Don't have criminal history, I should say. So it's easy to walk into a store and pick up a gun, pick up ammunition, and so you don't know what people are about when they're out here. You don't know who got what and what they'll do. So I don't know. It may be that in Ukraine, it may be different. I don't know, but I find it strange that somebody would just put their hands on you, like no big deal. Like, that's crazy. But nevertheless, we'll go ahead and close it on out. Great points, good video for the review. And we'll close out with the book of Ecclesiastes. As always, chapter number 10 and verse number 13. Let us hear the conclusion of the whole matter. Fear the Most High and keep his commandments, for this is the whole duty of man. It is so very important that we understand that in the conclusion of the whole matter, we are to fear the Most High and keep his commandments, for this is the whole duty of man. At the end of the day, when it is all said and done, all the dust is settled and all the smoke is cleared, we will be judged on whether we feared the Most High and kept his commandments, because this is the entire reason that we are here. I am your Akazaki Yahoo, joined by my most esteemed Akinanaya, giving all praises, honor, and great esteem unto the Most High Power, Yahuwah Bahashem, Yahushua HaMashiach, and to the 12 tribes of Israel, who is scattered to the 4 corners of the earth. I say Shalom Wabaruki, that is peace and blessings. And I cannot wait to the day that the Most High brings us back together, and we are once again 12 tribes, one family, one nation, under the Most High Power, under one covenant, and back in our own land. Until that day, Shabbat Shalom, family.
Shabbat Shalom, Mr. Pekai.
All praises to the Father. You know what? Let's get one more. Kiss the boy here. Kiss the boy. Let's get one more.
You when I'm sit. Where were you when I'm dream? So fast, Kichi. Hey boy, so fast, Kichi. Hey daddy. Kichi, Kichi, Kichima.
Kichima.
Kichi, Kichi, Kichima.
Kichima.
Sibram Konto, Alaye. Sibram Konto, Alaye. Shoot to kill. Killawa. Shoot to kill. Namasa. Kiss the poor. The farmer. Kiss the poor. The farmer.
Attention. All praises to the Father. Until next time. Shalom. Shabbat shalom.